Moshe. Yisro said to Moshe this through a shliach, through an agent. Ani chosencho Yisro boilecho, v'ishtcho shnei vonei imo. I, Yisro, your father-in-law, coming to you. V'ishtcho shnei vonei imo. Your wife and your two children with her. Her two children. Yeah, her children. It's always the wife, the children. We always. Children always, you make a mishaberach. Tzirtzei chalotzeo. Rashi, V'yomel Moshe al yedei shliach anis chosencho Yisro. Now listen. Im einato yotzei bigini. If you're not going to come out to greet me on my behalf because of my worthiness, say begin ishtcho. You should come out on behalf of your wife. Im einato yotzei begin ishtcho. And if you're not willing to come out on behalf of your wife, say begin shnei voneo. You should come out on behalf of her two children. I mean, what is he saying there? I mean, why should Moshe not want to come out? It's his father-in-law. What about Hakor Satov? I mean, he lived in his house all the years. He was married to his daughter, so on and so forth. He never chas v'shalom mistreated him. And Yisro himself was no longer a pagan. He was no longer a pagan. So if that's the case, what's wrong with Moshe going out to greet him? If not me, it should be on behalf of your wife. Not for your wife, because of your children. Chazal tell us that the two people merited the greatest honor which nobody else merited. Yaakov Avinu and Yisro. It says when Yaakov came to Mitzrayim, Yosef says he hitched his chariot, went out to greet his father. So somebody sees the viceroy going out. You mean the minister's not going out? And somebody sees the ministers go out. The next level. So all Egypt went out to greet Yaakov Avinu. The covet he had, it was one of a covet. Nobody had such covet. Who was the second person? Yisro. Moshe Rabbeinu goes to greet Yisro. Moshe goes, Aaron Abonov not coming. Shivim Zekanim are not coming. Shivim Zekanim not coming. The Zekanim are not coming. And it goes. So therefore, all call Yisro. Millions of people went out to greet Yisro. So we're not talking about just acknowledging a person. We're talking about that if Moshe goes, his going means every Jew goes to. That means we're putting Yisro on a certain pedestal. He is that. But he is that, it's not so simple. He was a pagan at one time. He's a Baal Tshuva. He's come to realization, to recognize, whatever it is. You never know the ramifications. We're talking about Kovet Klal Yisrael. We're talking about the oppression of Klal Yisrael. Do you go out? And Yisro understood that. So he says, if you don't come out bikini, it doesn't have to identify you coming for me. For my daughter. But who's your daughter? She's a convert. She's not an original Jew. So then it should be on behalf of what? On behalf of the children, because they're your children. Even though it's born neho, but they're still your children. But it says, Moshe went out for the sake of Yisro. But this is why Yisro is couching it with all the way he's saying it. It's not my behalf, my daughter, your wife. If not my wife, your wife, the children. So you always have to be so careful. I'd said that many years ago, I was asked to speak at a certain symposium, Agudas Yisrael. It was on a Friday. And there was a certain person, those years, a wealthy man, he was an older man already. And he spoke. What was he trying to encourage and suggest and sell? That it's important for the sake of Kiruv that every family, especially Torah family, should have a non-religious person at his table, or people who are much less for Kiruv. You have a built-in Kiruv center. So how many religious Jews you have? As many as you have. Each family, has a person or a family for Shabbos. It's built in. We have a built-in Kiruv system. That's what he suggested. So, this story goes back at least about 20 years ago. We have an infrastructure. Baruch Hashem. Observant Jews, they keep Shabbos properly. You have Zmiris, you have Torah, you have this, you have that. So if you invite a secular Jew, or a non-religious Jew, or a quasi-religious Jew to your table, you're doing Kiruv. So you're not doing anything outside of what you normally do. You just have a guest at your table. You have this kind of guest, you have another guest. So simultaneously you're doing Hachnosis Orchim and doing Kiruv simultaneously. Sounds like a phenomenal suggestion. Right? What do you think, Moshe? So what I said was, and everybody was all excited, I said, it's not so simple. Person whose children are married, it's him and his wife. Okay. Person whose children are so small that the conversation has no relevance to the kid, children, no problem. But if you have children who hear the conversation and see the people, and there can be impressions, it's not simple. Not simple. So I said, and it wasn't speaking of the impression of the person. The child could be impressed with the person, with his values, whatever it is. Let's say the person asks a question at the table. And it's a good question. It's out of not knowing. And you give the perfect answer, which answers the question perfectly. Your child may have heard the question, but your child may not have sufficient experience or intelligence to appreciate that that answer answers the question. So your child is left with the question. So if you have a trace of doubt, even though at this moment it means nothing, but when he becomes an adult, you never know how that question is going to resonate in that child's mind, which undermine everything in Yiddishkeit. Therefore, I said, it could be disastrous. So, the Yetzer Hara comes, makes a suggestion. Phenomenal suggestion. No, it's a mitzvah. Look at the cost factor. Look at the cost factor over here. Many years ago, Moshe Sherer, when he was alive, Zacharin Lebroch, a special person, head of a Gudas Yisrael, so he once called me about to take a position in a certain community out of town. Rav of an Aguda, Gudas Yisrael. So I said to him then, and he was very strong, whatever it is. He was very, very exceptionally nice. He was like a prince, this Moshe Sherer. And I said to him, the chinuch doesn't meet my grade. The chinuch. It was a co-ed day school in this community. And this and that happened to be my father-in-law's community, St. Louis. And, this, it'll be, you'll do tremendous things. I said, I can't sacrifice my kids for Kiruv. Can't sacrifice my children. Can't do it. I can't allow, the word I'd say, I can't allow my children to be korbanos for them. So he says, what do you mean? This and this. I said, look, I discussed it with my Rosh Yeshiva. He agrees with what I say. He learned in Baltimore as a student, as a Talmud. So I said, my Rosh Yeshiva said that. That's what he said. Nothing more to talk about. My child should be a korban for them. Expose him to who knows what. You never know. Well, it'll work out. You do all the Shem Shemaim, your kids are going to work out. You don't have anything to worry about. You have plenty to worry about. Got plenty to worry about. You know what the end result is going to be? You never know what is it going to be. So I'm saying, Yisro understood that. If you come out beginning, it's not Moshe Rabbeinu coming up. Moshe Rabbeinu is not a private person. Moshe Rabbeinu comes, or Klal Yisrael comes. That means Yisro was that special person. But he's that special person. He was an idolater. He was a pagan. Today he's a Baal Tshuva. He wants to convert. Therefore what? So if not for me, for your wife. But your wife also. She's a convert. And she also this and that. So let it be for your children. But when it says, Vayetze Moshe, Likros Chosno, he went out for the sake of his father-in-law. Because if you take a look in the Vegetan Tchuma, Kodesh Baruch Hu says, Oiv Aniyas Ageri. That because, he says, you people, you stood at Sinai. It's going according to the opinion that Yisro came after Sinai. So of course, you're all revved up. You had that. This man has no background. And he became a ger. You know how special he is. He's in a certain way, he's more special than you people. You saw the Shechina, you saw everything, the coldness and the brokim. That's why you accepted. What did he see? What does he know? Therefore, when Moshe heard that, Moshe L'Kros had nothing to do with his wife, had nothing to do with his children. He came out for the sake of Yisro himself. To be continued. They go with a kohler. If you go as a lone survivor, and especially if you have kids, and there's no second. I once went. There's this particular community, so the principal of the day school, he was a Talmud of Chaim Berlin. But I think he forgot where he came from. So when I came, because of this issue, so I said to him, I said, could we have a dual track system? You have co-ed, well, not co-ed, in the same day school. Yeah? And I said, my father was willing to underwrite the other track. You have no responsibility. Whatever the cost is, my father will underwrite. That's what I said to the principal. The story goes back 35 years ago, maybe longer. So he says to me, this man, this person lived in Chaim Berlin, he's not alive any longer. He says to me, he says, I want to explain you something. He says, the Rosh Hashivas are going to give a din v'cheshbon. Hear what he says to me? That they're not willing to sacrifice their children. Here, then he talks speaking about Rabbi Yaakov, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. These people are going to give a din v'cheshbon that they're not willing to sacrifice their children the way I sacrifice my children. You know? Therefore, even if you're willing to pay it, under no circumstances will we have separate education. We will not have a dual track system, even though it's not going to cost me a penny. Yeah, ever hear such? It's irrelevant to me what he did. You want to talk about me, the Rosh Hashiva is going to give a din v'cheshbon. This is what he says. What? Doesn't make a difference. The guy's going to pay the price. Rav Moshe is going to give the Rosh Hashiva is going to give a din v'cheshbon. Moshe Rabbeinu spent 60 years in Midian all by himself. You know, are you a bigger tzaddik than Moshe Rabbeinu? You know, this is where this guy's coming from. You know, this man was in Siberia during the war. He had no support system. Okay, who put him in Siberia? Did he have a choice to go to Siberia? Did Moshe have a choice? He had to be a Midian. You have no choice is one thing. But if you have a choice, do you go to such a community where you put everything in jeopardy? Of course not. They're not comparable. Any of these situations are not comparable. It's like the rabbi telling his congregants to drive on Shabbos because otherwise they're not going to come to shul. But they're not going to come to shul. But you understand, that's not your problem. That's God's problem. It's not your problem. But what's going to be with the Jews? You mean you're more concerned about Jews than God is concerned about Jews? The halacha says you're not permitted to drive. But they're going to not go to shul? Okay. It's a problem. If they have merit, somehow it's going to work out. If not, okay, what could you do? Not comparable. Not comparable. Because it's, you know, I'm a little bit older than you are, and I knew those people who originally came to Detroit. I knew their backgrounds. New York City in the 50s wasn't much different than Detroit was. You got it? Nothing was good. I sat next to kids, and when I went to RJJ, that everybody wore a different color yarmulke, whether it's green, maroon, purple, or white, or satin yarmulkes. The kid next to you, you didn't know if he was a Shomer Shabbos, didn't know Shomer Shabbos. Everything was intermingled. You never knew anything. Kids bathed, they bathed. What did a kid do in those days? Kids didn't take drugs, they weren't tattooed, they weren't pierced. You didn't know what he did at home. Did he come from? You know nothing. So going there, here, it's all the same thing. So the influences and the impressions and weren't that. Today, we're talking about different worlds. Different worlds. Let's get back to Hanukkah Mosor, okay?